We're all proud to call Kendall County home. Our communities are thriving and growing, but most of this beautiful semi-arid landscape is far from large reservoirs and public water systems. The majority of us depend on groundwater as our primary source of water for drinking, cooking, taking care of our homes and businesses, and working the land. Fortunately, the geological structure of this area supplies residents with naturally filtered, fresh, clean groundwater, but it is not an unlimited supply. Kendall County, like many areas in Texas, frequently experiences droughts that can seriously limit the supply of groundwater. That's why the Cow Creek Groundwater Conservation District was formed in 1999 for the purpose of conserving, preserving, protecting, and preventing the waste of groundwater from the aquifers in Kendall County. This extremely important task is becoming even more critical due to a rapid expansion of land use and a growing population, which is expected to double in Kendall County within the next 40 years. The added demand, combined with recurring drought conditions, is making it increasingly difficult for area wells to produce all the water that is needed, evidenced by the fact that some wells in the county have periodically gone dry. The pending severity of our groundwater situation can be difficult to understand when we hear from nearby San Antonio that they are experiencing favorable water conditions. But in reality, our situation is very different as we draw our water from a completely different aquifer system. Because of the complexity of Kendall County's rock structures and aquifers, our groundwater is compartmentalized, more limited, and takes longer to replenish. Kendall County can be prone to drought conditions even when nearby areas have plenty of water. In order for our community to determine workable and fair water management solutions, we must start by making sure everyone understands the underlying geological structure of the Trinity Aquifer, its relation to surface water features, and withdrawal and recharge processes. Most importantly, we hope to foster a greater understanding of how our usage of groundwater from this complicated aquifer system may or may not affect our neighbors' water supply. Let's begin by looking at the origins of groundwater. As rain falls on the surface, a small amount of it seeps into the earth, passing through porous layers of rock. Water can also migrate downward more quickly through cracks, crevices, and sinkholes. The downward movement continues until the water is trapped by layers of clay or non-permeable dense rock, which causes the water to saturate and collect and create underground aquifers. These may range in size from microscopic to large caverns. Often people think aquifers are extremely large, continuous underground pools that cover many square miles. This is true of some aquifers, such as the Edwards Aquifer beneath San Antonio. In these situations, the entire aquifer's water level is quickly recharged by rainfall anywhere across the entire area, so everyone shares equally in the sum total of replenished groundwater. But this is not the situation in the Trinity Aquifer system. The Trinity system comprises aquifers of different permeabilities that have been created by a complicated rock structure with numerous layers and variations in composition and density, and therefore variations in permeability. Permeability is the measure of the rock's ability to allow water to flow through it. So rainfall is not shared equally by all residents and landowners of Kendall County. Also, this kind of aquifer system requires scientists to gather much more detailed information to create a comprehensive understanding of the Trinity's complexity. The analysis the Cow Creek Groundwater Conservation District performs provides the insight necessary for good water management decisions in a geological environment full of complicating factors. For example, in a large pool-type aquifer, water resources can be monitored by simply taking periodic water depth measurements from several wells across the aquifer. But the total volume of water resources in the Trinity Aquifer cannot be easily measured because, as you can see here, our groundwater is dispersed across areas that have varying rock densities and permeabilities. This situation makes it very difficult to even compare water resources for wells that are in close proximity. One landowner may have plenty of draw from his well, while a neighbor's well may be in decline because they are drawing from different aquifers at different depths. Or consider this, you may have drilled your well to the same depth as your neighbor's wells on both sides of your property, but in a complicated geological environment like ours, you and one of your neighbors may be drawing from the same type aquifer, while your neighbor to the other side may be drawing water from an interval with different aquifer permeability characteristics. That's why it is difficult to know whether your neighbor's water usage is affecting your water supply or not. Still, another complicating issue has to do with the aquifer's recharge rate. In this location, the rock is more porous and the underlying aquifer recharges faster compared to the rate at which water seeps downward through denser rock in this location. This disparity makes it difficult to anticipate when individual sections of the Trinity Aquifer will recharge, and even more difficult to predict the ability of a given area of Kendall County to support growing demand. Another issue that complicates matters is the fact that groundwater can be a moving target as it migrates at different rates between aquifers, depending on the size of the connecting pathway and the porosity of the rock. But regardless of the density of the rock in any given area, it is important to understand that only 4 to 6% of the rainfall in Kendall County actually ever makes it into the Trinity Aquifer. The majority of rainfall we receive is absorbed by soil and plants, is lost to evaporation, or runs off to lower basins outside of the county. This fact helps shed perspective on how precious and limited our groundwater can be in times of drought or high demand. These are the reasons the Cow Creek Groundwater District continues to gather all of the available scientific information as a basis for the management processes. Now you should have a better perspective on how our ability to measure and manage our groundwater in Kendall County is dictated by a very complicated geological structure. You now understand that the groundwater available to residents and landowners across the county can vary greatly, depending on the portion of the Trinity Aquifer from which their wells draw and the speed at which different portions of the aquifer recharge. It is evident that when demand or pumping exceeds the recharge rate of an aquifer, the net result is a loss of available water for all residents and landowners who draw from that same aquifer. Some areas with lower permeability or tighter rock may see more dramatic effects of depletion than other areas of the county. You should also realize that drought conditions will affect landowners across the county differently. These issues will only be magnified as population growth and increased land use place ever greater demands upon our limited groundwater resources. Hopefully, this information will arouse every landowner in Kendall County to become as educated as possible about the geological facts that affect their specific wells. More importantly, we hope that this knowledge will inspire landowners to work together to use resources more wisely and with greater respect for neighbors' needs and rights. The Cow Creek Groundwater Conservation District has presented these scientific facts to help support our community's ability to solve the increasingly critical groundwater management issues that face us now and in the future as we share a resource that belongs to all of us.